Great. Welcome everyone to Cloud Data Driven Online User Group Meeting. For today's presentation, we have Ronen. I will introduce Ronen very, very soon. But one thing I would like to let everyone know that this session will be recorded. Okay. So, and it will be published on YouTube. If you do not want to be part of the recording, session, please do the needful. Otherwise, we welcome you wherever you are. It's really a pleasure and honor to have you join us and learn from our community and allowing us also to learn from you. Okay. This cloud data-driven community falls under what we call data-driven community. So meaning under data-driven community, we have two things we're doing. We're doing on online a yearly conference, which is called Future Data-Driven Summit. And every year we normally have a minimum of 2,000 attendees with us live, and we would like you to be part of that this year. If you never join our yearly summit, okay? And feel free to share that with your community. Also, we have cloud data driven, which is exactly uh, where we are at now. Okay, we meet every Thursday at 12 p.m. EDT, and this community, for example, regarding feature data driven, if you would like to register, I highly suggest you to scan this and share this with your peers. And if you would like to help us advertise this somewhere, that would be great. And guess what happened? We're planning to surprise you with the latest information related to SQL Server 2025 and also the latest feature in Microsoft Fabric, right? And as the event also will fall right after the last conference of Microsoft Fabric, we will also be able to bring we're working behind the scene to bring product team to see if they can come and also we talk about everything that just announced it from Microsoft Fabric conference. So with that, if you would like to be in sync with the generative AI evolutions along with SQL Server 2025 and Fabric, we highly suggest you to go and scan this and join us. Uh, if you want to join our cloud data-driven community and register for any upcoming um, uh, weekly webinar, you are free to scan this. Great. And for your information, this community is administrated by Ronen. He's happened to be our speaker today, okay? And he is the primary person that's managing the end-to-end activities related to user group, yearly conferences, and so on. Since he joined our community, we get better. And Ronan, thank you so much for your amazing work you are doing. Without you, I wonder where would the data-driven community be today, right? Afterward, then we have Anna. Anna worked very close with Ronan. Okay. Ronan is the co-admin or the primary organizer, and Anna is a moderator and even organizer. However, Anna worked very close with Ronan. And we also have Tipti as an event organizer that helping us manage our data community. We do have Koyela. She's doing an amazing work. We haven't updated this slide yet. Would you like to say something, Ronan?
You. This is all the slide. Defi is also a moderator like 2 months ago.
Perfect, great. And me, for your information, I'm a data and AI engineer and work for Microsoft as a technical trader. I'm the founder of this community and the secondary organizer. Yeah. If you would like to connect with me, you are free to scan this, and I'll be happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. Okay. With that said, this is the entire board members plus Koyela, because she's doing a tons of heavy work for us. Thank you so much, Koyela, for your amazing work. With that said, I would like to proceed and let you know that this session, and remind you also, this session will be recorded and published on YouTube. Ronen, it's always an honor for me to host you, okay, and work with you together. With that said, I would like you to share your screen, introduce yourself, and start with your presentations. Thank you. You are muted, Ronen.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Absolutely, I can see your screen. Feel free to proceed. Thank you so much.
Also, okay, so thanks a lot for the introduction, Jen. Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Ronen Ariely. I'm from Israel, working as a senior consultant in the field of data platform and architecture of enterprise-level systems. I will just go very fast and remind you that you can use the chat during the meeting for question, discussion, whatever you want. And you can also use the reaction if I said something that you like, or just want to put your like or clap your hand. I assume that everyone here in the meeting are familiar with SQL Server. I will run very fast of the introduction. There is no reason for this. In short, SQL Server is a database. Server meaning an application which helps us to manage data. It's a tabular database, which means that the data is stored in logical structure that we call tables. In fact, SQL Server support managing data using other structure, but those are related to a different lecture for another day. The work of a database administrator does not stop with the database itself. Obviously, you want to drink coffee in the middle of the day, you want to print something, you want to send email. There are a lot of tools that you need. Usually, those are external tools that we are using during the day. Today, I want to focus on the power of SQL Server to go beyond the boundaries of data in tables. We actually can do a lot of the things that you use external application with the SQL Server, and most people do not know about this. A few people might have forgot about this, because when I asked about this and we had a discussion about this in an expert community with Microsoft MVPs and the top expert, no one remembered those options, at least not all of them. Each of the options that I will mention today is basically a full lecture for a full hour. This is a review. Some I will demonstrate fully. Some I will only present the full code, and some I will only introduce to remind you. So let's go to the demo. We don't need a presentation, that's all. Basically, we are working with live. So let me open my SMS. Awesome. Okay, the first feature that I want to mention is poly-based. I will not go deep into this. This is one of the most common or most famous features that Microsoft added in 2016, and they are updated since, even in SQL Server 2022, and we cannot speak about 2025 yet, and we will need to wait to see what will come in the upcoming version. In very fast, the polybase feature allows us to use external to break the boundaries of SQL Server. We use external data resources, not even tabular. We can use files on blob storage. We can use other tabular databases like Oracle. We can use Hadoop. We can use almost everything. So how we use it? First of all, it's not installed by default, so you need to install this feature. Once you install it, you can go and start to work with this. You need to create a database master key if you haven't done it yet. This is once for a database. Then you need to create a credential. The credential are the way that you actually connect to the external resource. So those information that you see in the credential are the username, for example, and password for the external resource. Once you have the credential, you can start to create an external data source. And using the credential, of course, and then you come to the next point, which is not always needed. If the external data source is a tabular data source, like Oracle or another SQL Server, so we don't need to map it. We can just use table to table and use it as it is. But in a lot of cases that we use polybase, the external data source is not even a tabular database. It's not tables. It can be a file. It can be whatever we want to use. So for those cases, we need to do another step, and this is to create external file format. This is basically the mapping between the external data source and the table that we will create, a virtual table that we will create in the next step. And the next step is to create external table. This is a virtual table. It's basically hold the information. And when we use this table, we actually use the external data behind the skin. So you can see it's like any table, but we have an addition of the information that we need to use because this is external table. That's all. Let's continue to next feature of breaking the boundaries. So I want to speak about open role set. This is probably very common. I'm sure that everyone is familiar with this. And if not, very fast, let's go over it. So open role set, I will create a very fast table and put a few rows into it. And you can see the rows in front of you. This is what we have at this time in the table. Once we have a table, we can start to use it. Now, I created a table in order to show you how we can connect to external data source, but I don't want to use external SQL Server, so I'm using, I'm connecting from the SQL Server to the same SQL Server, but this is the same way that you connect to any external SQL Server, including Azure SQL. And this is the way we are using this connector in order to connect to SQL Server. And once we use it, we can go to the same table, but this is now external table. We can do more. We can read file. This is a simple file that I have in my system. I will show you the file. Not here. This is the file that we are going to use. And I will leave it here open for a second because we will do a lot of nice things after it. So this is the file that we use, and I can just read the file and use it from SQL Server, and I can read it in a different way using the format information about how to read the file, so we will see it actually as a tabular. And I will use the same way with another type of format. We can use XML as well as a format, type and execute, and you can see now the information in the file. We can use back insert, which means we can do the opposite. We can take information from external file. We can insert it into a table that we want. And this is my addition. Until now, what I said regarding open role set is something that any average DBA will say. But I always want to add something with a value that it's not known, and this is the tweak. I show you about Polybase. Pretty much from the new, from 2016, there are features from 2022. But open role set allow us to do the same, and most people do not know about this. We can actually use open role set in order to have a virtual table or a view, which is a virtual table, and read the data, the external data dynamically. We don't need the use of Polybase, I mean, for this specific case. And this is the way that we do it. I can create a view, and the view itself read the data from the open role set. Now let's select the data using the view. It's like a regular table. Let me go to the file again that I already opened it. This is the file. Let's change the file. By the way, I will go over the content of the file in a second. Let's change it, save this file, and I execute the same query, and I'm getting the new information. This is external data source, so remember this trick. Open role set can help you to create a virtual table as well to external data source. Now, did you notice the information in the file? So first of all, I use my birthday. I don't want anyone to forget that you need, I'm waiting for gift. So I was born on February 27. The second row that I put here is the date of the future data-driven summit. The future data-driven summit 2025 will be at September 24, but the registration is open now. Don't wait for the last minute. Moreover, the call for speaker is open now. It will be closed in several days. If you want to speak in the event, so go to the website, click on the call for speaker, and submit your session as soon as you can. And the next one is just the date and the information about this meeting today. Next, I want to speak about BCP. A BCP is Windows command prompt. Using BCP, we can actually run a command in PowerShell, for example, or CMD. I will just, again, it's very known feature. I will just go very fast on what's important in my opinion, which is, first of all, -B. This will give you the information about your version, which can be very helpful in many cases. Let's know what we are using. And smaller. And the next is the way that we can export data from the table. So you see the word out. Out is export, and this is the format. It's very simple. And in the same way, we can use BCP to import data to the table. I can tell you that BCP is very useful to back up the data in a CSV file for small tables. So if you have a small tables, it's very nice just to export it as CSV, and you have the data in a readable way. If you want to import, it's very useful. It's a backward. It will import the data very fast. Another option, which is less known, is that we can use queries. We don't have to use the table as it is. We can use any simple query like this. And this way we can, for example, only output part of the columns, not all of them. So the way to do it is with the query out. And we will continue to the last very known feature that I'm talking about today. And this is the command shell, XP command shell. This is a built-in procedure that we can use in order to run operating system shell command. It is very useful if we want to work with a files operating system for automation tasks, or for calling external script. It is important to understand security. It is run by default if you are sysadmin under the service account. So it is pretty much secure. If you are not a sysadmin, then actually you have more permission by default, because then you are using your own Windows user. I will speak about this a bit in a second. This is disabled by default. So if you want to use it, we need to enable it. So the way that we enable it, we are changing the setting in the server. It's very simple, and this will enable it. Run BCP. This is the basic idea that we used before. Just in the previous slide, not slide, but query page, I showed you how to use BCP. But sometimes we want to use BCP from the SQL Server query. It's very simple. We will use this XP command shell, and inside the command we can run any command shell. So we can run the BCP like before. If I will try to execute this line, I will get access denied. Why? I mentioned about the security. I'm a sysadmin. Since I'm a sysadmin, this actually run by the SQL Server service, the service that runs the SQL Server, and that service don't have the permission to use my desktop. But how can I know about this? How can I know who is actually running? Very simple. Let's check. Let's execute a simple command shell. Who am I? And we will get the information. Okay, so remember that this is something that you need to check if you are getting an error. But if you are a sysadmin and you want to run more flexible queries, it's not a problem. What you need to do is to create a proxy credential. Using a proxy credential, we are using a user in the SQL Server, and then we actually run the query using that user. And this is the way to do it. I'm not going to run it. We are going very fast. So we create the credential, we create the login, we create the user based on the login, and we can execute we need to give permission, of course, and then we can just execute whatever we want. And this will work without a problem because we are using a different user, a Windows user, of course, and we make sure that this Windows user has the permission that needed. Let's see what more we can do with this. So we can explore the backup files, for example, or the database file. It's very useful for us. I don't know if you want to do it daily, but when you build yourself a job, for example, you want to know what is going after. When you want to monitor your data, your file, this is a very useful. You can see all my database. Of course, this is a developing environment, so you can see the database file. We can create a folder. Before I create a folder, let's see what we have right now. So this is what we have. You can see that I have this file. I will remove it and create it later on. Let's remove it. And you can see that I don't have any folder other than those two. And we can use this command to create a new folder named XXX. Let's see the folder. Here is the new folder that I created. I can manage basically everything in command shell as long as I have the permission. I can remove the folder that I have just created. I can compress file. I can take the file that I created, the backup file, or any file that I use from SQL Server or not related to SQL Server. And I simply compress it using a zip. built-in application or 7-zip if you want, or any application I can run like this. So I just need to run a zip command. And this is the way to compress a file, a folder in this case. We can run a WMI command line as well. For example, we can retrieve the logic disk information. You can see all the information that I have. I can get information about logical disk. All those information using a DBA going outside, and he will open my computer or external application or command shell. We don't need. We can run command shell from the query. We can get the disk information as well. Let me go through some of the information very fast. Why we need it, as you can see, for monitoring space, for file system management, for check and diagnostic, for remote system management, and a lot more. I have more script here. We don't have time to go through all of them, so I will just scroll down and show you what we can do more, like move, delete, copy files in the operating system, not related to SQL Server. You can use it for backup management. We can check which services are running. For example, I can check if SQL Server is running. I'm using SQL Server, but does it really run? Am I using the right instance? So if I will execute this, for example, I will get that it's not running. Why? Because I check a different instance. This is a good for a case that we have multiple instances of SQL Server in the same server. I can run query from one instance to check and monitor the other instance. And we can execute more dramatic command. I will go through, scroll down. Obviously, we can check the trace of profiler. And let's go to the end. I can monitor network. I can check the network. I can change the network information, whatever I need. And with this, we will go to the next. Low custom event is done in the SQL Server, and we can go to those log information using those two less known procedure, XP log event and XP login info. Okay, now I didn't put any parameter. It's just to show you this. Next, I want to go through very fast, we are not going to run it, about external script. This is something very powerful. In SQL Server 2005, Microsoft added the option to run SQL CLR inside SQL Server. This is awesome feature. I myself, coming from the development world, I only moved to SQL Server in 2000, in the early 2000, the year of 2000. And before this, I was for many years working as developer, leading development teams. And when I heard that we can actually use SQL CLI in SQL Server, it was awesome for me. So just remember this. But in the latest years, Microsoft brought us more options. Not only this, but we can execute different languages script. So here, when we configure the language, we just need to select. We can use R, for example. We can use Python. We can use Java if we want. And this is the basic idea. I mentioned the SQL CLR, and I want to mention one demo that I will present in more depth at the end according to the time. And this is about, let's say that we want to use a printer from SQL Server Yes, it is possible. We can do everything that we want. This is what we are learning now. We can even control external devices. SQL Server allows us. So I will show this simple demo. In this demo, what I'm doing is I create ActiveX component, and then using a simple query, I will use this, and I can print whatever I want in my printer. I can scan, I can activate my phone if I want, or my whatever you can think about. SQL CLR is very useful for manipulating the data. In order to use it, you need to open the security to use it, like most of the features that I presented today. Just remember, it is there. It's not new. Let's go a deeper level. Let's go to the operating file system. So we don't need what we present before. We needed to add the security and permission in order to use it. But we have other options to do it without the need to open any security windows, which is great. Just it's work. You don't need to do anything. SQL Server sysadmin can use it immediately. The SQL Server service will be the one that use it, unless you use the proxy as we mentioned. And those options are open. I didn't need to open anything. As you can see, I can examine the files that we have. I can examine the file tree, the folders. I can choose what is the level that I want to go inside this scanning. I can fix a drive if I want, get free space that we have. If we want to monitor, this is what we have, and we have done it before with command shell. No need. You have it built in. Maybe not known, but it's there. In 2017, there was an addition of DMV that gave us the same option and even more. So you actually don't need it. You can use this one. Don't need this specific query, I mean. And we can create subfolders. You remember the folders that we created, the x66 folder? Here, we can create it like this as well. And we can, of course, to remove it, we can manage the file system. What can we do if we are not sysadmin? What if we want to give to one of our users to have this power? So first of all, I will say, be careful. Don't do it flexible. This is, it can be problematic, but once you need to do it, so again, you don't need to open any permission. What you need to do is simply to create a store procedure that will be executed using my permission as a sysadmin. So what I will do is alter the data. We do need it in order to use trustworthy. And then we need to create a login. We can create a user, and we create a simple store procedure. But notice that I'm using with execute as owner. And that's it. This store procedure will be able to be executed by any user that I will give him a grant permission for this. So a simple user can create folders and do everything that I mentioned about. This is the way that I execute the store procedure, of course. And we will move to the next. And this is another level. Notice that we are going deeply and deeply and deeply in the level of ability. I started with something that everyone should know and move deeper, and there is no limitation. What I show you today, it's only some percent of what we actually can do, and we will go now to the operating system registry. Yes, you can control the registry. Before I'm going to this, I do want to check if you have any questions, anything that is not clear until now, and then we will continue. So please use the chat And you also can use the raise hand if you want to speak, and we will give you the permission. I see in the chat a lot of URL listed to the work. I'm not sure what it means. If you want to speak and elaborate.
This is something common for me. I copied this. It seems like it's carry over the email from Meetup. Feel free to carry on. But one question. They said, did Ronen say BCP is faster or not very fast? I didn't quite make out what was said.
Okay, so first of all, notice that Jen put a lot of URL for a lot of information in the chat. Just check it. You can use it after the meeting. We also invite you to register for the conference, of course. You have the link in the chat. Okay, let's continue to dive into SQL Server. And now I want to go to the registry of the operating system. In Windows operating system, registry is like the core. It's not exactly the core, but it's the core of the setting of the operating system. And let's see that we can actually manage and control everything in the registry. What can we do? So first of all, we can read the registry, and we have two ways in order to use the registry. One way, let me make this smaller. Okay, one way is using absolute path to the specific key or folder that we want to use in the registry. The second option is relative path. Relative path fit for cases that we know what exactly is the registry key that we want to use. It is great when we want to check things regarding SQL Server. So, for example, this is the registry that I want to read. I can go to the same registry of the server agent using the relative path, and I will just need this. What is the advantage of this? I don't need to know what is the real path, what is the absolute path. And if I have multiple instances of the server, probably I will not know what is the real path. I might make a mistake regarding the exact version, which is the name of the folder in the registry. So this is a great solution. That's one part of them. And we can see that I actually read data from the SQL Server, from the Windows registry. And here, this is the place that SQL Server stored the jobs. I don't need to go and check anything outside the SQL Server. If I want to check the registry and get the information about where are the files, here I got it in a simple query. I can also read the information about the location of the SQL agent like this. Again, I'm using both of them. And I can check, for example, the number of log file. SQL Server works with a error log file or event log file or whatever you want to call it. And it works with several files. The way that it works is it's working with one file. When it fails, it will go to the next one, to the next one. Once it came to the last one, it's not exactly a last. It's like a round circle of using the file, because when it comes to the last one, it's going back to the first one. One problem about this is that if you have like only two files, then you might find out that SQL Server just write on the file and you don't have the history. So you can control, if you want, how many files you want to have. It's related to performance as well. I'm not going into this in this session, but I will show you that you can check how many files we have. I can read the registry and see that I have, at this time, 10 log file. And if I want to change it, no issue. We can do anything with the registry. It's very dangerous. but it's very powerful and we need it. I can change the registry and change the number of log file directly with a simple query. But if I want to read multiple values, no issue. I can read not the key, but the folder. And if I want to take all this information and use it for next task in the query, I can just put it all in a table. It's very simple. And once it's in a table, we can continue to query the table. SQL Server, as you know, have two types of authentication. One authentication, login authentication, let's call it. One authentication is using only Windows authentication, meaning only Windows users can connect, log in. The other option is using Windows plus SQL Server authentication. So if you want, we can check what is the authentication at this time. And we can also change it. So if we want to check the property, we can just use the server property. And you can see that I'm using both of them, Windows and SQL. And if I want, I can change it. I can change the registry. Again, this is not part of SQL Server regular work, but instead of open the management tool of SQL Server, I can run a query and change this, and I can go from one authentication mode to the other immediately. So we go to the registry. We are on time. That's great. Another option that we can use is check the version of the SQL Server which we are using now. Now, this is the common way to do it. Probably everyone familiar with this. And a bit less common is to use this option, which gives you the number of the version. It's very important. In many cases, this is what you actually need. Do we have here anyone that did not try to send email from SQL Server? SQL Server is a database management system, but in order to monitor, a lot of time we want to send email to alert about what happened in the system or for other cases. So this is built in SQL Server. This is known. I will go very fast through it, but I will show you something more advanced in the next demo. So this is the built-in option to use store procedure, send DB mail, very useful and with us for many years. You need, of course, to configure it, configure the server to let us use it, because by default it's not enabled. You need to move to the database where it is, or use a three-part name when you use it. We need to create an account in order to use it. Now, the account is what you have all the information about your email. So in this case, I used something that fit Gmail, of course, without the real information, but we can actually use our Gmail and send email from SQL Server using Gmail, or not any, but most of the email services. And this is the way we create account. After we create the account, we need to create a profile that we will use. And using the profile and the account, we can create the profile account relation. That's it. Once this is ready, we can start send email using the profile. And this is the way that we send. There are more parameters if you want to check, but this is the basic idea. So we can send the email. What is less known is those. But it's not new for this session. Just to remember that we can even monitor the email. The email has three steps. There is unsent, which means that it will be sent probably in a few minutes. There is the option of sent, so everything is okay, and the option of failed. we can execute those queries in order to see what is the status of the email, and if we have an issue, if we find that the email was not sent, or the user that needed to get it did not get it, so we can start to monitor what is the issue. We can check the status that we have. We can check the status with a bit more information, only on specific status, like only for the sent email. We can check why it was failed. If it was failed, also we'll wait a little bit of time. If we want to check exactly what was the approximately of the error, so we can check what was the error that make it fail, and we will get the information here. Very important, in my experience, I can say all of my clients probably forget to do it, and I always need to remind people, clear. Everything remember to clear, so clear the profile account relation, clear the profile, clear the account, clear everything, and then you are ready to continue. If you want only to clear the information, you had a lot of fails and you don't want it anymore to be in the logging, you can just remove it from the sys table like this. That's all. And we can send email. And now we are going, in my opinion, to the most interesting demos of today. And this is using all automation procedure. It's so important that we have a lot of demo that we will go through some of them in another windows of SQL Server. Let's start. Okay, so what is all automation? This is object link and embedding. This is something that you have in your Windows operating system. A lot of what you are doing in Windows or is done in Windows behind the screen is done using all, using what we call COM object and such. And using SQL Server, Transact SQL language, we can actually control those. We can actually use those. Everything that we have in the system. You can work with a Word document. You can work with Excel. You can do whatever you want. Any application that you have, you can execute work like this. Let's go through some of the samples that to understand. So again, in order to use it, we need to set the server and to open the option to use it. By default, it is closed. It is a security Windows, but this is life. And in order to get more options, we need to work in a more secure environment and think about what we are doing. So using all, we can use any COM object that we have in the system, in the Windows system, any all object that we have. Just to show you, this is a simple query command shell. I'm open this just to show you how many we have. Basically, this will give you the list, and it continue to run and continue to run because this is the way that your operating system works. Not everything, but a lot. So if we can actually use with a COM object, we are kings of the operating system. We can manage everything. And by the way, not only the operating system, but even outside the server. I mentioned printing. Let's continue. The basic way to work with all objects is with those 4 steps. We need to declare the section that we want to work. We need to create the object, the all object that we are going to use. We need to, not always, but if we want to add a parameter, so we are using the method, and we must remember to destroy, to clean everything at the end. This is the procedure. Let's see some sample. So, for example, I can test it. What is the best way to test if it's actually open? I remember I mentioned it that this is not open by default, and there might be other configuration issue. How can I check it? Very simple. I will use SQL Server COM object in order to check if SQL Server all object is open to use. So this is a COM object. This is what I'm going to use. Not this one, this one. This is what I'm going to use. And if I will run this, and everything is ready for us to use all object, so it should run without any error. So we are ready to work. If you will try to execute it at the first time, you will get error. You need to configure the setting as I mentioned. What can we do more? We can create and write files. Now, I'm not talking about BCP. I'm not talking about export a file in specific format because we have internal tools that do it for us. No, I'm talking about writing files. Any file, free file. Let's create a notepad, a text file. I will open it with Notepad. So let's do it. You can notice that I will create a file in this folder, and the file name is this. This is the folder that I already showed you before. We use it to create a subfolder inside it. And the file is not here. Let's create a file, a simple file. Oops. And let's go to the folder again. Voila. No, this is not a folder, so we don't have voila yet. This is the file. And voila, we created the file. But not only the file, I can read the file, I can write the content of the file. This is not SQL Server work. This is actually operating system. I work directly with the COM object. You see this text. I can write whatever I want. I can read the files as well. You see, this is the text that I had here. Where was it? Here. This is the text that I had here. Hello from SQL Server. I can write anything that I want in a simple file. What more can we do? And very useful for us. Let's go fast through some of the important and useful tips. So we can get file size if we want and check if the file exists. Do whatever we want with the file operating system. So we will use this all object in order to do this. And you can see that I can check the file that I have just right now. We can run external script as well, shell script, not like before, like we did with the built-in store procedure, but using a COM object. And this is the COM object or the all object that we will use. And this is the way that we can actually execute Notepad or any application that you have. Yes, I have a query, a simple query that actually starts Word application or start your phone, if your phone is connected. Any application that you have. But it's not so simple, or you just need to remember, it's not simple, that this is work in the background. It will not run it, in this specific example, it will not run it with the GUI. So you can open it, you can run it, you can write inside, you can read it, and then close it. I'm not talking only about Notepad, but any application that you have and you want to execute. We can read the environment variable as well using the WS script. And this will give us all the environment variable that you want. We can send email. How can we send email? So let's think about this. Yes, we can send email not using the store procedure, the built-in. Very simple. We can use the all object from a DLL that we write, and then we can use it for sending email. In this case, This is a demo of, it's not a demo, I'm not going to run it, I just want to mention it. It's a very known website that provides service. Most is by only paid, so usually I do not promote it, but they have some free DLL that you can use. The DLL basically is the object, the COM object that we are talking. Once you install the DLL, then you have the COM object and then you can use it. So you can run email or any COM object, even if it was not something built in that you already have, you can create it. Interact with the Windows shell in a different way, so we also can use it. Now, notice that here, I use this name in numbers. I just want to present it. It's not so important, but remember that you can use the all object name, the official name, or you can use the official CLSID. Let's call it like the unique ID. And then it's the same query like we showed you before. We can open folder, we can open file in Explorer as well. It's more complicated. I can tell you that it depends on the user that you are using. Again, like we said, sysadmin, proxy, everything that we mentioned regarding permission. But if you are using the shell application, then you can use a command to open with the Explorer if I will use the open command. And what we have more, we can launch Notepad, as we mentioned before, and clean up. Don't forget. Let's continue. Okay, time is a bit short, so let's go a bit faster. We are still with all automation stored procedure. This is a very interesting option that we have. We can open Excel file. Not only open, we can create Excel file. Now, I'm not talking about CSV. I'm talking about creating Excel, format the cell, creating graph, whatever you want with Excel. You can use it with a query. Yes, it is really happening. You can do it. It's very simple. And this is an example how to do it. And it's not only Excel, it's Word and everything. So this is an example that I took from this website. So I give it a credit, and I will give you all the link after the session when we will present the recording, or you can just read it now. And you can work with Excel, create a new workbook, a spreadsheet. You can do whatever you want. And let's go to the next. We can work with the files. We already showed this option, but we can also work with, let's execute this to remember. This was very poor information. We can also work directly with COM object and get the real information, the information that you see when you open your My Computer and everything. So if I will run this, for example, I put all the information in a table. Okay. Let me just go fast. The code, as I said, I will give you afterward. I put everything in the table and I execute and check the information that I will get. This is information that I get from the Windows operating system using the all object. And this is very interesting. I'm using this many years, and Microsoft gave us some update just now regarding those options. What do I mean? Is to send HTTP request from SQL Server. From SQL Server, I can go to a website and read the HTML content of the website. Of course, it's not have to be HTML. It can be, for example, JSON information or whatever. It's a simple way. Here, I will go to this website. This is a simple page that I created for the sake of this session. Let's open our browser and see the page. Actually, it's open here, but never mind. Let's open it. This is the page. It's a simple file, includes a simple information in JSON format. I can go to SQL Server and read it. I just send HTTP request like a browser. What is a browser? Simply an application that sends HTTP request and get HTTP response. This is exactly what I'm doing here from SQL Server. Voila, this is the information from the file. You thought that this is interesting. Let's continue even more. If I can send HTTP request from SQL Server, why not execute logic-apps, logic Azure function, anything outside? Using this trick, sending HTTP request, I can use any external API. I can use ChatGPT. I can actually create a simple query that use the select information that we have from a table, send it using HTTP request to ChatGPT or any other LLM engine, and get information from this. I can connect to Azure AI if I want, and I can connect like this sample to the logic apps. What do we have here, by the way? I will show you. I want to promote the future data-driven again. So what I have done here, let's go to our website. Okay, let's open it again. I don't want too much time. So this is our community website. And inside the community website, the main page, you can see that the call for speaker is open. Click it if you want to speak. You have only several days more. You have the upcoming event, and this is the future data-driven event and the weekly meeting. You can go over all of this and join us to our next event. Now, let me go to the event page. Let's go. This is the event page of this year. Let me go to register just to show you what we can do. This is the form to register to the Future Data-Driven Summit. We don't have the list of speakers yet because the call for speakers is open, but this is an early registration. Use it. I highly recommend. We might even have some raffle with a gift to people that will register early. Not to all, but a raffle between the early registration. I don't know yet because we still need more sponsors, but you know what I can do? I can actually connect this form using SQL Server query. I can actually send HTTP request to fill this form from a simple query, and I can get the information back. I will not do it now for a simple reason. We blocked it for security reason, of course. But let me send this file. Once you fill this file, and this is something that you all need to do, I highly recommend to add the Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever you want. It will help us to connect you if you want. Once you submit this file, you will get this information. Let me just mark that this is a test and not a real. Okay, this is a test for this session, and let me submit it. Okay, I have just registered to the Future Data-Driven Summit. This is what I'm getting back. Now, let's go to my email. Because we secured the registration, in order to register, you need to confirm that your email is actually yours. So at this time, you need to check your email. Let's go to my email. This is my email. And let's go to the new one. Let's refresh. And this is what I got now. This is what you will get. This is a URL to confirm that your email is yours, that you actually got the confirmation email. Once I will click this, This will activate a logic apps in the Azure logic apps that we have, and the logic apps will run and go back to our SQL server. I will show you the logic apps in a second, maybe, according to the time. We have 10 minutes more. And we do the confirmation. But what if I want to do the confirmation without email? Obviously, I need the link. Without the link, I cannot work, because the link is the confirmation that you got the email. But I can execute this link directly using a query. And this is what I'm doing here. Let's go back to the sample. And this is the link that I got. This is a unique link with a GUID. Each one of you will get a different link. Once you execute the link in your browser, you will get the confirmation that it was done. So here, I can do it from here. I execute any HTTP request. And if I execute it, this is the HTML request. You can see that the status is 200. It was okay. I use it like a browser. I don't need the browser. A query can replace a browser. A query can replace everything. This is the HTML that I got back from the server, and this is what the browser uses in order to present the GUI and the page that you see usually. Very powerful HTTP request. Obtain XML data, it's the same. I can use the HTTP request to contact XML. I can contact this, for example, use Google XML, open information to get information. I can get information from JSON and so on. It's a simple HTTP request. We have more samples if you want to check. I gave you the link of more sample. Here you can see how you can even use HTTP request to use post, get, and other method, and work with the stream information as well. Create ActiveX component. Okay, I mentioned working with a printer. I will show you how you can work with a printer. This is a full code. So in order to work with the printer, we have several options. Let's start with the simplest option. In most cases, your printer already, when you installed it, it already installed all objects. If this is the case, and this is almost always the case, if this is the case, you don't need anything. You can just execute the COM object like we did until now in all those samples. If it does not happen, the second simple option is if your printer connected to a network. A network printer we can actually use using HTTP request. We can send in the network. It's a bit complex to use it, but this is the idea. The idea is very simple. You use HTTP request. You use post, of course, not get. You send the information and you get the information, and the printer will work. If all those not working, what will work probably almost every time is a simple case. Okay, you don't have a COM object, let's create one. This code I did not write, but it's very simple code. This is the credit for the place that I took the code. And you just have several lines of code in .NET. You just need to compile it. You create a DLL, and then you install the DLL. That's all. From this point, you have a DLL to use your printer. And now you can use your printer using the COM object like we did before. And this is the code. You can see I'm using this with my new COM object that I have just created. And that's all. I can print whatever I want. I can control the printer. I can do whatever I want. And this is not just a printer, any external device. SQL Server is very powerful. We just need to know about this. We can send email as well. We don't have to use the built-in store procedure to send email. We can send email using a COM object and connect to whatever we need. So this is the one that we are using to send a message, and this will work for you. There are all the information of the email, all the parameter using the property. I didn't mention it in now, but when you are using all object, you can also use this store procedure in order to configure parameter that are required or you want to use, like the email address, the server URL, the port that you use. This is, by the way, fit for Gmail. So if you will copy, paste, and use this, in theory, if you will use your credential, it should work for sending email using Gmail. Don't forget to clean up. I mentioned Excel, Word, and whatever, and I show you a simple case. This is a very complex case that show how we can control Excel in deep dive. This code I did not write. I will provide a link to anyone that wants after it. But the idea is to see that we can actually use more. We don't have the time in this session. We can do it in another lecture. Each one of those can be presented in a full hour. So we can actually control the Excel, everything that you have in the Excel and what you need. HTTP requests can be more complicated as well. If you want, you can use post and put more information, hidden information. One word for those who do not familiar with this. Get method means that all the information is sent in the URL. Post method means that the information is sent behind the screen, hidden. So you can use post, and you can just fill the entire form. You remember the form of the registration to the future data driven submit? You can do it using a simple query. You don't need a browser at all. So this is the way to do it. And I think that this was the most powerful option using the all option. This is the website that I mentioned before, that they have some free ActiveX DLL that you can download and use, and they have a lot of paid, so it's not a recommendation. I'm just mentioning it. Now we mentioned how we can connect external application. We mentioned Logicats. Let's go more deep to Azure SQL about the option that we have. So using Azure SQL, we can manage Azure database using Logicats. We can go to Logicats. Let me open it. I will take a few more minutes of your time. And let's see if I open the, and let me move it here. Where is here? Okay. This is a Logicats, and this is live Logicats, by the way. This is the Logicats that we do the confirmation, that I have just used it a few minutes ago. So I can control Azure SQL from Logicats, from Azure function, and this is the way that we do. We have in the flow built-in option to execute SQL query, to use a store procedure. There are a lot of options. We are not going through this, just introduce the option. And there are the opposite option. We can execute Logicats from Azure SQL, and we don't need HTTP request for this. This is a built-in feature in the Logicats. So if I want, instead of this trigger, I can use a trigger that related to Azure SQL, and for example, use a trigger that each time a new row is added to a table, the logic app would start to run, or the flow would start to run. Or every time that it is changed. There are a lot of built-in options, so you can control SQL Server from Logic Apps and Azure Function. I'm using the word Logic Apps because personally it's the most common tool that I'm using for such, but all Azure option. So you can manage the Azure SQL from the Logic Apps, and you can manage the Logic Apps from the Azure SQL. And just to show you very fast, this is the Logic Apps that we use to confirm the email, and this is the HTTP request that we actually execute in order to get the confirmation. Once you execute this, so we update the information in the database if it was correct information, your unique information, and that's it. We change the status to OK, and we send you a response to the browser, a simple response that say, yes, everything is OK, and you have a calendar, and etc. That's a great feature. And with this, we come to the end of the session. 10 seconds after that time, we're exactly at 1 p.m. and 15 minutes. Let's just summarize everything very fast and remind you the future data-driven is open. Don't forget to register and call for sticker always also open. I remind you that Azure SQL is a great option to use with SQL Server together between them. You can send email using the Logic Apps. This is the way that I'm doing. The email that you get, confirmation, this is the way that I actually execute the information. And a few more information about operating system option. You can get it afterward. And with this, let's go to the presentation. Just to close what we have done. So we went through all this. You have it in the presentation in order to download it and to go through it. So this is the external table that we use. This is the open row set, the PCP, the command shell, all those options. We did not have time to go through all of them, but it's not only command shell. You actually can use a lot of other less known procedure that you have built in the server. Execute external script in different languages. We spoke about this, SQL CLR. Those are the registry command, the most important that I put together in one place so you can use it. Windows registry, if you want to check it, the GUI, so this is the way to do it, and this is how we actually go to the specific key as I showed you. So with this, I show you how to change the authentication mode using a simple query by changing the registry. But how do you do it with the official way? The official way is not with queries. It is done using the database engine configuration. It is done here. Okay, so we can do it like this. Obviously, behind the skin, it is done with command as well. OTP automation store procedure. Let's go external point. Trigger and remind you about the upcoming event. This is the event page. Register today to the early registration, or you can wait to the list of speakers that we will select. If you have any questions, this is a good time. And with that, thank you everyone for joining me today. And feel free to ask more questions if you have. It's a very very compressed session, a lot of information. You can go to the recording afterward to check if you actually catch everything. Jen, are you here? Do we have any questions?
Absolutely, I'm here. By the way, you just did a fantastic job. And as always, man, I learned so much. And thank you so much for putting this together. Um, uh, you have one question. I'm not sure if you saw that. There's this allow one to query an Excel file without first loading the file into a table in SQL Server. In other words, importing it first, like from SSMS, can we leverage SDCMD shell to get the data directly from?
One second, I didn't follow you. It's too long question. It's like half session. Let me read it. This is the question that you're talking about. Does this
Yes.
allow one? Okay, let's see it. Does this allow one to query an Excel file without first loading the file into a? It's not related to a table. The answer is yes. It's not related to SQL Server. It's a Windows COM object. You are working with Excel, not with the CSV. The answer is you can use Excel, you can use Word, you can use any application that's related to a COM object. Yes, it's not related to a table. This session, all this meeting is breaking the boundaries of tables. Nothing that I mentioned here is related to data in tables. This is the point. Thank you for joining us. Do we have more questions? I think that we covered everything. Yeah, it is a breaking mind. And it's not everything that you can do. It's what I could present in 1 hour very fast. So go to the recording. It's really important information and unknown. People do not use it. SQL Server 2025 is going to be released soon, and there are features that I showed you, some of them that are with us for 20 years. And some of them, they are very new, I mentioned, added in 2022.
Yeah, I can see there is a lot of I can see there are a lot of great comments here. As always, I know you always, do a great job. Team, if you have questions, you do have access to unmute yourself. Feel free to do that. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Would you like to say one more word, Ronen?
No, but let me change the setting. The setting is not allowed to use the microphone. So if anyone wants to use the microphone, 1 second, let me just change the setting and camera as well. 1 second, let me change the setting. Where is it? Here, allow mic and allow camera as well. Apply. So more than welcome, just to say hello, and we will see you all next week. We have a very interesting session. I think that FD Grigori is going to speak next week. So just join us. Thank you again for joining me.
Thank you, Tim.
all.
Bye-bye, all.
Bye-bye.
And the video will be available sometimes this weekend or next week. Once we publish it, we will email everyone and make you aware of that. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.